Do your lower ribs stick out like this? This is called a rib flare. It's common with those who have a deep arch in their lower back, and it's not a cause of pain or problems, but it can affect your mobility, and oftentimes a lot of people just don't like the way it looks. I know what you're thinking. They're bones, I'm stuck like this. Lady Gaga was right. I'm born this way. I don't think so. The ribs can actually change their shape. It was demonstrated in this study right here. If you're on your back, the front to back shape of the rib cage gets smaller. This can help bring the ribs in. We're gonna take advantage of this to improve the rib flare. But when I show you these exercises, don't make this common mistake. And that's forcing the ribs down. Watch what happens to my stomach when I do that. See how my lower abs stick out? So you're kind of trading one problem, a rib flare, for another, a pooch belly, by doing that. Lie on your stomach with a pad underneath the lower ribs and the pubic bone. Bring your arms in close against your chest with your hands by your collarbones. Drift your eyes upward a few inches or centimeters. Take a silent breath in through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and think about melting down into the pads. Hang out in this position for 3 to 5 sets of 20 breaths, 2 times per day. Progress to the press-up variation of this exercise. You'll keep the same setup position, only this time you want to make a heart emoji with your hands and then rotate your palms downward. There's a bone on your hand called your pisiform. It's wiggly and it's on the pinky side of your hand. On your exhale, you want to press your body up using that bone, but keep the low ribs and the pubic bone touching the pad. Do not make the mistake of moving the ribs as you press. You're basically learning how to move your torso without flaring the ribs with this exercise. Keep that top position at a 3 to 4 out of 10 pressure through the hands for 5 breaths. Do that for 5 sets, 2 times per day. I need some abdominal activity to help pull the ribs inward, but make sure that you don't crunch to do it. Have your hips, knees, and shoulders at a 90-degree angle. Forming a triangle with your forearms, make 2 letter C's with your hands and rotate your palms down. Looking straight down, start in a sagged position. Take an easy breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth and press your torso up by pressing through the pisiform, the elbow, and the knees. You do not have to press up all the way. I would go at a 3 to 4 out of 10 effort. Make sure that your ribs are moving as you breathe in and out, but not forced. If you notice you're someone who still has a deep back arch and your ribs are flared, press more firmly with your knees. Maintain that 3 to 4 out of 10 pressure for 5 sets of 5 breaths. If you find that move, too easy, you can barely, and I'm talking barely, lift your knees up, keeping pressure through the feet. The next variation you'll do, and the progressions I'll show you within it, are great not just for rib flare on both sides, but if you're that person who flares only on one side or the other. Keep a 90-degree angle at the shoulders, hips, and knee. Look straight down, start sagged. Take a breath of air in through your nose. On the exhale, you're going to push your torso away from the ground by getting kneecap pressure, pisiform pressure, and then the base of the index finger. Make sure you don't go to end range, so you allow the ribs to move. Hold this position for 5 sets of 5 breaths. If you notice you're flaring on both sides still, or that variation's easy peasy lemon squeezy, try lifting the knees up like you did with the last exercise. If you're someone who's flaring only on one side, you can do hand taps in this position. On the inhale, put more weight on one hand so the opposite side lifts off the ground. Exhale, put your hand back down. Alternate between each shoulder. Make sure that you get that pressure through the hand. A lot of times people will do this movement and feel like, nothing's going on. I don't feel my abs working. Usually that's because they're not getting enough pressure from the hand and the knees. Doing this makes all the difference. And it segues to our final exercise in this progression. Before attempting this, you should be able to hold the bear position for 5 sets of 5 breaths easy. Pretend you are crawling in a tunnel. You'll inhale, press one hand and the opposite foot hard into the ground, so that way it unweights the opposite arm and leg. You're going to do this crawl for 3 sets of 10 yards to 10 meters, depending on what units you like to use. If you've mastered going backwards, then you can go forwards for the same distance. The big key is making sure you go slow, you keep that tunnel positioning, you don't sag, and you don't arch. Now maybe you've been trying some other rib flare corrections that you've seen on the internet, and you're that person who's like, crap, I forced my ribs down, I got that pooch belly, what do I do about that? Well, you'll find everything you need to know in this video because it's my most up-to-date pooch belly fixing progression. And I'll tell you this, folks, it's a lot more than just having increased belly fat.